Dana, yeah, you're the first. Thanks a million. Hi, Stardust. Sure, I did. Happy Sunday. How are you, Stardust Dreamers? How did your Sunday go? Tiffany, please subscribe and like. Yeah, my name is NniferN. Saba, please subscribe and like. Meg, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Ella, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Leila, please subscribe and like. Fa, please subscribe and like. Darling, please subscribe and like. Isa, please subscribe and like. Ellie, happy blessed birthday to you. Lucas, please subscribe and like. Yeah, 3 people just liked. Darling, please subscribe and like. Isa, please subscribe and like. W, please subscribe and like. Eloa, please subscribe and like. Fatima, please subscribe and like. W, please subscribe and like. Mia, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Ian, please subscribe and like. Angela, please subscribe and like. Fifi, please subscribe and like. Ruby, please subscribe and like. Yes, Stardust, thanks a million. Stardust, thanks a million. Stardust Dreamer, Layla, please subscribe and like. Stephanie, please subscribe and like. Sadaf, please subscribe and like. Tay, please subscribe and like. Solid, please subscribe and like. Nori, please subscribe and like. Ruby, please subscribe and like. Archie, please subscribe and like. Lily, please subscribe and like. Stephanie, please subscribe and like. Layla, please subscribe and like. Benicio, please subscribe and like. Stephanie, please subscribe and like. Luna, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Safi, please subscribe and like. Sadaf, please subscribe and like. Vanessa, please subscribe and like. Anthony, please subscribe and like. Mohammed, Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Danella. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Kathleen. Please subscribe and like. Parsley. Please subscribe and like. Ali. Please subscribe and like. Abba. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Layla. Please subscribe and like. Ahmed. Please subscribe and like. Parsley. Please subscribe and like. Ethan. Please subscribe and like. Hut. Please subscribe and like. Didi. Didi Danella. Please subscribe and like. Caitlin. Please subscribe and like. You're welcome. Papa. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Shepherd. Please subscribe and like. Parsley. Please subscribe and like. Papa. Please subscribe and like. Zuri. Please subscribe and like. Haley. Thanks a million for liking, so appreciate you. Please subscribe and like. Kennedy. Please subscribe and like. Zuri. Please subscribe and like. Layla. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Felix. Please subscribe and like. Gray. Please subscribe and like. Zuri. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Carrie. Please subscribe and like. Erika. Please subscribe and like. B. Please subscribe and like. Hafsa. Please subscribe and like. GGGR. Please subscribe and like. Emma. Please subscribe and like. Bella. Please subscribe and like. Haley. Thanks a million for liking, so appreciate you. Zoe. Please subscribe and like. Micah. Please subscribe and like. Yumi. Please subscribe and like. Kennedy. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Bruni, how are you? Sophia, please subscribe and like. Yumi, please subscribe and like. Layla, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Micah, please subscribe and like. Bella, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Emma, please subscribe and like. Camila, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Hello, thanks a million. Hello. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Haspa. Hapsa. Thanks a million for liking, so appreciate you. Roll. Please subscribe and like. Yumi. Please subscribe and like. Bruni. Please subscribe and like. Emma. Please subscribe and like. Max. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Sky. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Stardust. Please subscribe and like. Sabella. Please subscribe and like Olivia. Please subscribe and like Yumi. Please subscribe and like Emma. Please subscribe and like Olivia. Please subscribe and like Bella. Please subscribe and like Yo. Please subscribe and like Maria. Please subscribe and like Camila. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like as you. Please subscribe and like Olives. Please subscribe and like Ibrahim. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Crow. Please subscribe and like Sua. Please subscribe and like Camila. Please subscribe and like Ro. Please subscribe and like Chrissy. Please subscribe and like Ibrahim. Please subscribe and like Camille. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Mara. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Leila Marie. Fanny Vanelli. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Soya. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Dana. Please subscribe and like M. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Chrissy. Please subscribe and like Olivis. Please subscribe and like Ibrahim. Please subscribe and like Sania. Please subscribe and like Olivia. Please subscribe and like Rob. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Chrissy. Please subscribe and like Zoe. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Zoe. Please subscribe and like Bradley. Please subscribe and like Sophia. Please subscribe and like Ibrahim. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Ron. Please subscribe and like Alex. Please subscribe and like Ibrahim. Please subscribe and like Saliba. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Brinley. Please subscribe and like Ron. Please subscribe and like Valentina. Please subscribe and like Naomi. Please subscribe and like. 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 So yeah, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Brandon. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Laurie, thanks a million for liking, sub, appreciate you, sweetie. Valentina, please subscribe and like. Kelly, please subscribe and like. Nomi, please subscribe and like. Soya, please subscribe and like. Brandon, please subscribe and like. Brainley, please subscribe and like. Lori, thanks a million for liking, sub, Lori. Strawberry, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Ibrahim Checks, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Kylie, please subscribe and like. Celine, Please subscribe and like Naomi. Please subscribe and like Lori. Please subscribe and like Bro. Please subscribe and like Ibrahim. Please subscribe and like Valentina. Please subscribe and like Fernanda. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Hyunchi. Please subscribe and like Zuri. Please subscribe and like Jackie. Please subscribe and like Celine. Please subscribe and like Yanchi. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Kavia. Please subscribe and like Naomi. Please subscribe and like Prelin. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Lucas. Please subscribe and like Audrey. Please subscribe and like Soya. Please subscribe and like Stella. Please subscribe and like Kavia. Please subscribe and like Jackie. Please subscribe and like Lori. Please subscribe and like Danella. Please subscribe and like Darlene. Please subscribe and like Brinley. Please subscribe and like KQ. Please subscribe and like Brian. Please subscribe and like Lori. Please subscribe and like Brannon. Please subscribe and like Jackie. Please subscribe and like KK. Please subscribe and like Sita. Please subscribe and like Kevia. Please subscribe and like Ellen. Please subscribe and like Suya. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Audrey. Please subscribe and like Sawyer. Please subscribe and like Sam. Please subscribe and like Kelani. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Clear. Please subscribe and like Alice. Please subscribe and like Genesis. Please subscribe and like Celine. Please subscribe and like Phoebe. Please subscribe and like Aslan. Please subscribe and like Alice. Please subscribe and like Morgan. Please subscribe and like Henry. Please subscribe and like Cedar. Thanks a million for liking, sub, appreciate you. Alice, please subscribe and like Cordelia. Please subscribe and like Alice. Please subscribe and like Jackie. Please subscribe and like Mackie's. Thanks a million for liking, sub, appreciate you. Henry, please subscribe and like Morgan. Please subscribe and like Linsley. Please subscribe and like Nathan. Please subscribe and like Nayeli. Please subscribe and like Henry. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Mom. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Linsley. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Bella. Please subscribe and like Cedar. Thanks a million. Jet B, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Kamya, please subscribe and like. Alice, please subscribe and like. Bila, please subscribe and like. Ariana, please subscribe and like. Kamya, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Anila, please subscribe and like. We're here. Please subscribe and like. Kamya, please subscribe and like. Leslie, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Joseph, please subscribe and like. Jenna, please subscribe and like. 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 Jamie, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Danny, please subscribe and like. Autumn, please subscribe and like. Holly, please subscribe and like. Leslie, please subscribe and like. Karina, please subscribe and like. Lori, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Tanella, please subscribe and like. Ariana, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Joseph, please subscribe and like. Mallory, please subscribe and like. Chocolate, thanks a million for liking, so appreciate you, sweetie. Foxy, please subscribe and like. Holly, please subscribe and like. Karina, please subscribe and like. Nelly, thanks a million for liking, so appreciate you, sweetie. Us now, please subscribe and like. Joseph, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Layla, please subscribe and like. Foxy, please subscribe and like. Belly, please subscribe and like. Annie, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Chairman, please subscribe and like. Adam, please subscribe and like. Joseph, please subscribe and like. Hussein, please subscribe and like. Adam, please subscribe and like. Lori, please subscribe and like. Fox, please subscribe and like. Axel, please subscribe and like. Elizabeth, please subscribe and like. Adam, please subscribe and like. Danella, please subscribe and like. EXO, please subscribe and like. Adam, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Jocelyn, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Sam, please subscribe and like. Joseph, please subscribe and like. Axel, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Gustavo, please subscribe and like. Morgan, please subscribe and like. Adam, please subscribe and like. Matt, Sam, please subscribe and like. Ellie, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Ahmed, please subscribe and like. Mary, Please subscribe and like Didi. Please subscribe and like Clear. Please subscribe and like Elodie. Please subscribe and like Miguel. Please subscribe and like Ella. Please subscribe and like Laden. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Michael Jackson. Please subscribe and like Delani. Please subscribe and like Alondra. Please subscribe and like Charlie. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Matatabi. Please subscribe and like Wally. Please subscribe and like Kevin. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Scarlett. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Michael Jackson. Please subscribe and like Kelly. Please subscribe and like Delani. Please subscribe and like Penelope. Please subscribe and like Eloida. Please subscribe and like Katie. Please subscribe and like Charlie. Please subscribe and like Seba. Please subscribe and like Axel. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Nafisa. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Kevin. Please subscribe and like Alondra. Please subscribe and like Laden. Please subscribe and like Ella. Please subscribe and like Wally. Please subscribe and like Charlie. Please subscribe and like Seba. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Layla. Happy blessed birthday to you, sweetie. Live long and prosper. I am. Please subscribe and like Mila. Please subscribe and like Changbin. Please subscribe and like Lime. Please subscribe and like Mila. Please subscribe and like Nikki. Please subscribe and like Andrea. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. I am. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like George. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Nikki. Please subscribe and like JC. Please subscribe and like Didi. Please subscribe and like Capivara. Please subscribe and like. Cutie Lime. Please subscribe and like Epstein. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Mila. Please subscribe and like Happiness. Please subscribe and like MCC. Please subscribe and like Changbin. Please subscribe and like Sarah. Please subscribe and like Biggs. Please subscribe and like Jesse. Please subscribe and like Alvarado. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Andre. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Didi. Please subscribe and like. Charlotte. Please subscribe and like. Stella. Please subscribe and like. Albin. Please subscribe and like. Louise. Please subscribe and like. Felix. Please subscribe and like. Biggs. Please subscribe and like. Andrea. Please subscribe and like. Random. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. George. Please subscribe and like. Capybara. Thanks a million for liking, so appreciate you, sweetie. Noga. Please subscribe and like. Louis. Please subscribe and like. Felix. Please subscribe and like. Andre. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Melody. Please subscribe and like. Maya. Please subscribe and like. Hasan. Please subscribe and like. Maya. Please subscribe and like. Jordan. Please subscribe and like. Ariana. Please subscribe and like. Olivia. Please subscribe and like. Sing me. Please subscribe and like. Michael Jackson. Please subscribe and like. Olivia. Please subscribe and like. Jordan. Please subscribe and like. Kylie. Please subscribe and like. Elodie. Please subscribe and like. Ricky. How is Ohio? Please subscribe and like. Ariana. Please subscribe and like. Cheeseball. Please subscribe and like. David. Please subscribe and like. Jane. Please subscribe and like. Kate. Please subscribe and like. Anna. Please subscribe and like. Jordan. Please subscribe and like. Astro. Please subscribe and like. Cheeseballs. Please subscribe and like. Sungmin. Please subscribe and like. Sabrina. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Robert. Please subscribe and like. Jungin. Please subscribe and like. Emily. Please subscribe and like. Stars. Please subscribe and like. Sophia. Please subscribe and like. Stro. Please subscribe and like. Jackson. Please subscribe and like. Emma. Please subscribe and like. GR. Please subscribe and like. Robert. Please subscribe and like. Sungmin. Please subscribe and like. Helena. Please subscribe and like. You're welcome. Rui. Please subscribe and like. Astro. Please subscribe and like. Kylie. Please subscribe and like. Lily. Please subscribe and like. Cheeseball. Please subscribe and like Kat. Please subscribe and like Tori. Please subscribe and like Violet. Please subscribe and like Lino. Please subscribe and like Jungin. Please subscribe and like Annabella. Please subscribe and like Singmin. Please subscribe and like Kelly. Please subscribe and like Gango. Please subscribe and like Helena. Please subscribe and like Lino. Please subscribe and like Emma. Please subscribe and like Kinjiso. Please subscribe and like Kane. Please subscribe and like Helena. Please subscribe and like Mabana. Please subscribe and like Tori. Please subscribe and like Sabrina. Please subscribe and like Stray Kids. Please subscribe and like Benjamin. Please subscribe and like Jisoo. Please subscribe and like Hadassah. Please subscribe and like Emma. Please subscribe and like Honor. Please subscribe and like Stray. Please subscribe and like Tilda. Please subscribe and like Inkshot. Please subscribe and like Benjamin. Please subscribe and like Stray Kids. Please subscribe and like Jisoo. Please subscribe and like Kelly. Please subscribe and like Lasto. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Victor. Please subscribe and like Abraham. Please subscribe and like Yabona. Please subscribe and like Luna. Please subscribe and like Rainy. Please subscribe and like Benjamin. Please subscribe and like Lisa. Please subscribe and like Suno. Please subscribe and like Luna. Please subscribe and like Baby Brooke. Please subscribe and like Jenny. Please subscribe and like Kim. Please subscribe and like Mela. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Dorian. Please subscribe and like Abraham. Please subscribe and like Suno. Please subscribe and like Ice Cream. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Emma. Please subscribe and like Mela. Please subscribe and like Warjin. Please subscribe and like Flux. Please subscribe and like Jenny. Please subscribe and like Lino. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Lani. Please subscribe and like. Wikash, how are you? Good morning. Matthews, please subscribe and like Jake. Please subscribe and like Sophie. Please subscribe and like Ella. Please subscribe and like Woojin. Please subscribe and like Dorian. Please subscribe and like Ella. Please subscribe and like Bana. Please subscribe and like Rose. Please subscribe and like Louis. Please subscribe and like my baby. Please subscribe and like Avelino. Please subscribe and like Sophie. Please subscribe and like Lani. Please subscribe and like Zedkid. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Rose. Please subscribe and like Ella. Please subscribe and like. You're welcome. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. NniferN. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Michael. Please subscribe and like. Ilani. Please subscribe and like. Lino Ice Cream. Please subscribe and like. Jake. Please subscribe and like. Sophie. Please subscribe and like. ZK. Please subscribe and like. Antonio. Please subscribe and like. WeCash. Please. Thanks a million, WeCash. What did it say? Subscribe. NniferN. Please subscribe and like. Michael. Please subscribe and like. Anna. Please subscribe and like. Kelly. Please subscribe and like. Michael. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. NniferN. Please subscribe and like. Blackpink. Please subscribe and like. Chris, thanks a million for liking, so appreciate it. Good morning. How are you doing? Oh, you, please subscribe and like. Delilah, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Go. Please subscribe and like. Didi, please subscribe and like. Delilah, please subscribe and like. Tony, please subscribe and like. Victor, please subscribe and like. You're welcome, Bernie, Leila. Molly, please subscribe and like. Liana, please subscribe and like. Gina, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Delilah, please subscribe and like. Lucas, please subscribe and like. Lorena, please subscribe and like. Gina, please subscribe and like. Ashley, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. EU, please subscribe and like. Molly, please subscribe and like. Liana, please subscribe and like. Victor, please subscribe and like. Kay, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. My partner. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Leila, thanks a million, sweetie. Melody. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Ashlyn. Please subscribe and like. Anifa. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Giselle. Please subscribe and like. Victor. Please subscribe and like. Omi. Please subscribe and like. Lillian. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Dan. Please subscribe and like. Dominic. Please subscribe and like. Melody. Please subscribe and like. Liana. Please subscribe and like. Islam. Please subscribe and like. Amber. Please subscribe and like. Han. Please subscribe and like. Natalia. Nathaniel. Please subscribe and like. Kitty Cut. Please subscribe and like. Jamilon. Please subscribe and like. Audrina. Please subscribe and like. Bethany. Please subscribe and like. Sugar. Please subscribe and like. Christina. Please subscribe and like. Hank. Please subscribe and like. Gibson. Please subscribe and like. Jim Long. Please subscribe and like. Tiva. Please subscribe and like. Jake. Please subscribe and like. Nico. Please subscribe and like. J-Hope. Please subscribe and like. Jesus. Please subscribe and like. RM. Please subscribe and like. ID. Please subscribe and like. V. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Zoro. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Ariane. Please subscribe and like. Valentina. Please subscribe and like. Nico. Please subscribe and like. Mohammed. Please subscribe and like. Zoro. Please subscribe and like. And Tony. Please subscribe and like. Natalie. Please subscribe and like. Skylar. Please subscribe and like. Sapphire. Please subscribe and like. You're welcome. Saya. Please subscribe and like. Epstein. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Iris. Please subscribe and like. John Cook. Please subscribe and like. Pause. Please subscribe and like. Sophia. Please subscribe and like. Aubrey. Please subscribe and like. Nikki. Please subscribe and like. Nico. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Bubaka. Please subscribe and like. Jungwon. Please subscribe and like. Camila. Please subscribe and like. Freya. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Jungwon. Please subscribe and like. Ping. Please subscribe and like. I'm so sorry, Nicholas. I speak divine healing upon you. Christopher. Please subscribe and like. Amber. Please subscribe and like. Jimmy. Please subscribe and like. Chance. Please subscribe and like. Banchan. Please subscribe and like. Ding. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Sabira. Please subscribe and like. Queen. Please subscribe and like. Moro. Please subscribe and like. Amber. Please subscribe and like. Christopher. Please subscribe and like. Mancha. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Wayne. Please subscribe and like. Queen. Please subscribe and like. NniferN. Mirelli. Please subscribe and like. Tonta. Please subscribe and like. Chance. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Queen. Please subscribe and like. NniferN. Please subscribe and like. Kehanis. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Moro. Please subscribe and like. Patty. And Nico. Please subscribe and like. Queen. Please subscribe and like. Skylar. Please subscribe and like. Abby. Please subscribe and like. Ajan. Please subscribe and like. Pfizer. Please subscribe and like. Yamin. Please subscribe and like. Ellie, I'm so sorry for your loss. I'm sorry, sweetie. May his soul rest in peace. So sorry. Belia, please subscribe and like. Oh, thanks a million, Belia. Appreciate you, sweetie. Manon, please subscribe and like. Kelly Honey, Honeys. Please subscribe and like. Lucas. Please subscribe and like. Manon. Please subscribe and like. Abby. Please subscribe and like. Fazer. Please subscribe and like. Yamin. Please subscribe and like. Arjun. Please subscribe and like. Shorties. Please subscribe and like. Juliana. Please subscribe and like. Kelly Honeys. Please subscribe and like. Bradley. Please subscribe and like. Arlene. Please subscribe and like. Jade. Please subscribe and like. Luna, thanks a million for liking sub. Appreciate you, sweetie. Nana, thanks a million for liking sub. Appreciate you. Kelly, how are you? Delaney, please subscribe and like. Yamin, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Stephanie, Stephanie, please subscribe and like. Leticia, please subscribe and like. Alex, please subscribe and like. Lani, please subscribe and like. Kathleen, please subscribe and like. Peyton, please subscribe and like. Flavia, please subscribe and like. Lami, please subscribe and like. Bradley, please subscribe and like. Boo, please subscribe and like. Shorties, please subscribe and like. Lemmy, please subscribe and like. Arilyn, please subscribe and like. Caitlin, please subscribe and like. Malia, please subscribe and like. Ladon, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Lavo, please subscribe and like. Flavia, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Myla, please subscribe and like. Roslyn, please subscribe and like. Changbin, please subscribe and like. Lami, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Hi in, please subscribe and like. Chia, please subscribe and like. Loving, please subscribe and like. Stephanie, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Mia, please subscribe and like. Roslyn, please subscribe and like. Sherman, please subscribe and like. Peyton, I'm sorry about your cut. Really, please subscribe and like. Fluffy, thanks a million for liking sub. Appreciate you. Maddie, please subscribe and like. Mila, please subscribe and like. Roslyn, please subscribe and like. Lammy, thanks a million for liking sub. Appreciate you. Daniel, please subscribe and like. Big boy, please subscribe and like. Ariadne, please subscribe and like. Zoe, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Kalitas, please subscribe and like. Rose, please subscribe and like. Jenny, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Lily, please subscribe and like. Tiana, please subscribe and like. Michael, please subscribe and like. Eugene, please subscribe and like. Lily, please subscribe and like. Kagu, please subscribe and like. Lily, please subscribe and like. Mayowa, please subscribe and like. Yummy, thanks a million for liking sub. Appreciate you. Curtis, please subscribe and like. Lily, please subscribe and like. Jessie, please subscribe and like. Nugget, please subscribe and like. Kagre, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Sarah, please subscribe and like. Eugene, please subscribe and like. Big Go, please subscribe and like. Kiara, please subscribe and like. Lily, you are the best. Thanks a million. Ronaldo, please subscribe and like. Kiara, please subscribe and like. Stormy, thanks a million for liking sub. Appreciate you. Kyrie, please subscribe and like. Ronaldo, please subscribe and like. Heesung, please subscribe and like. Mike, please subscribe and like. Kylie, please subscribe and like. Bisha, please subscribe and like. Josiah, please subscribe and like. Stormy, thanks a million. Brisna, please subscribe and like. Kiara, please subscribe and like. Jesus, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Chloe, please subscribe and like. Yo, please subscribe and like. Ellie, hey son, please subscribe and like. Starly, yes, you subscribe. Thanks a million. Yamin, please subscribe and like. Breathe now. You are the best. Sushi, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Heaven, please subscribe and like. Bernardo, please subscribe and like. Kylie, thanks a million for liking sub. Appreciate you. It's Avila. It's been an Abby, please subscribe and like. Abby, please subscribe and like. Nikki, please subscribe and like. Kelly, thanks a million for liking sub. Appreciate you. Me now, please subscribe and like. Get to Nathan, please subscribe and like. Cora, please subscribe and like. Breathe now, please subscribe and like. Rally, please subscribe and like. Will, please subscribe and like. Dakota, please subscribe and like. Steve, please subscribe and like. Kayla, please subscribe and like. Carolina, please subscribe and like. Hattus, please subscribe and like. Bianca, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Nancy, please subscribe and like. Cordelia, please subscribe and like. Marina, please subscribe and like. Yuri, please subscribe and like. Chris, please subscribe and like. Shreya, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Hub, please subscribe and like. Rosabelle, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Dakota, Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Rally. Please subscribe and like. Tishy. Please subscribe and like. Roll the bell. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Marina. Please subscribe and like. Legal. Legal, thanks a million for liking, so appreciate you. Toshi, please subscribe and like. Relax, please subscribe and like. Good boy, please subscribe and like. Catherine, please subscribe and like. Sadiq, please subscribe and like. Desi, please subscribe and like. Marina, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Kelsey, please subscribe and like. Salo, please subscribe and like. Desi, please subscribe and like. Good boy, please subscribe and like. Jonathan, please subscribe and like. Sadiq, please subscribe and like. Pasley, please subscribe and like. Reagan, please subscribe and like. Toshi, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Glisten, please subscribe and like. Pasley, thanks a million, appreciate you. Bradley, please subscribe and like. Alright, please subscribe and like. Danny, please subscribe and like. Clem, please subscribe and like. Ali, please subscribe and like. Isaac, Alice, please subscribe and like. Fedin, please subscribe and like. Brelin, please subscribe and like. Mila, please subscribe and like. Sunshine, please subscribe and like. Prajapati, please subscribe and like. Jamal, please subscribe and like. I love you. Please subscribe and like. Jamie, please subscribe and like. Brilliant, please subscribe and like. Gilbert, please subscribe and like. Lily, please subscribe and like. Leslie, please subscribe and like. Napoleonic, please subscribe and like. Jamie, please subscribe and like. Adam, please subscribe and like. You're welcome. Emily, please subscribe and like. Jamie, please subscribe and like. Marcy, please subscribe and like. Kylie, please subscribe and like. Adam, Please subscribe and like Jamie. Please subscribe and like Pandit. Please subscribe and like Mai. Please subscribe and like Glee. Thanks a million for coming around. Appreciate you. Autumn. Please subscribe and like Leslie. Please subscribe and like Marceline. Please subscribe and like. You're welcome. Please subscribe and like Emily. Please subscribe and like Ceylon. Selena. Please subscribe and like Adam. Please subscribe and like Ali. Thanks a million for liking, sub. Appreciate it, sweetie. Lucy. Please subscribe and like Lupita. Please subscribe and like CM. Please subscribe and like. Love you. Please subscribe and like. Marcy. Please subscribe and like. Lily. Please subscribe and like. Stevie. Please subscribe and like. Patty. Please subscribe and like. Jody. Thanks a million for liking, sub. Appreciate you. Ali. Thanks a million. Giovanna. Please subscribe and like. Autumn. Please subscribe and like. Steve. Please subscribe and like. Sam. Please subscribe and like. Kevin. Please subscribe and like. Brian. Please subscribe and like. Tia. Please subscribe and like. Stay. Please subscribe and like. Reagan, thanks a million for liking, sub. Appreciate you. Lupita. Please subscribe and like. Ami. Please subscribe and like. Stay. Please subscribe and like. Praise. Please subscribe and like. Aurora. Please subscribe and like. Twice. Please subscribe and like. Brian. Please subscribe and like. Tia. Please subscribe and like. Lupita. Please subscribe and like. Jody. Please subscribe and like. Aurora. Please subscribe and like. Mika. Please subscribe and like. Nelgo. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Jody, thanks a million for liking, so appreciate you. Giovanna, please subscribe and like. Sarah, please subscribe and like. Joa, please subscribe and like. Tiff, please subscribe and like. Kenna, thanks a million for liking, so appreciate you. Ami, please subscribe and like. Vito, please subscribe and like. River, thanks a million for liking, so appreciate you. Easy, please subscribe and like. Lucy, please subscribe and like. Sarah, please subscribe and like. Zico, please subscribe and like. Hami, please subscribe and like. Connor, please subscribe and like. Lucy, please subscribe and like. Evie, thanks a million for liking, so appreciate you. Zoe, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Alex, please subscribe and like. Soma, please subscribe and like. Trinity, please subscribe and like. Alex, please subscribe and like. Stray Kids, please subscribe and like. Christiana, please subscribe and like. Naya, please subscribe and like. Lucy, please subscribe and like. Sukuna, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Say, please subscribe and like. Soma, please subscribe and like. Christina, please subscribe and like. Trinity, please subscribe and like. Suno, please subscribe and like. Ashley, please subscribe and like. Dorothy, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Brooklyn, please subscribe and like. Alexa, please subscribe and like. Kayla, please subscribe and like. Felix, please subscribe and like. Jackson, please subscribe and like. Alexa, please subscribe and like. Kayla, please subscribe and like. Felix, please subscribe and like. Justin, please subscribe and like. Champion, please subscribe and like. Zayan, please subscribe and like. Skylar, please subscribe and like. Jennifer Grosser, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Hannah, please subscribe and like. Sabira, please subscribe and like. Samuel, please subscribe and like. Manon, please subscribe and like. Jasmine, please subscribe and like. Happiness, please subscribe and like. Linda, please subscribe and like. Gojo, please subscribe and like. Sarah, please subscribe and like. Candace, thanks a million for liking sub. Appreciate you, sweetie. Esther, please subscribe and like. 67, please subscribe and like. Jason, please subscribe and like. Sarah, please subscribe and like. Ghetto, please subscribe and like. Lara, please subscribe and like. Gator, please subscribe and like. Gio, Laura, please subscribe and like. Princess, thanks a million for liking sub. Appreciate you, sweetie. Enzo, please subscribe and like. J Sunshine, thanks a million for being here. Have a good one. Appreciate you. Sweet dreams. Mojito. Please subscribe and like. Danelli. Please subscribe and like. Manon. Please subscribe and like. Gina. Please subscribe and like. Megan. Please subscribe and like. Pella. Please subscribe and like. Lara. Please subscribe and like. Jajela. Thanks a million for liking, so appreciate you. Yadel. Please subscribe and like. Megan. Please subscribe and like. Sarah. Please subscribe and like. Hadsel. Please subscribe and like. Jayla, thanks a million for liking, so appreciate you. Yonchi, please subscribe and like. Sarah, please subscribe and like. Megan, please subscribe and like. Pella, please subscribe and like. Lara, please subscribe and like. Me, please subscribe and like. You're welcome. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Clara. Please subscribe and like. Lavina. Please subscribe and like. Winter. Renata. Renata. Please subscribe and like. Clara. Please subscribe and like. Lucas. Please subscribe and like. Ramiro. Please subscribe and like. Yeah, thanks a million for liking, so appreciate you. Peso, Pluma. Please subscribe and like. JC. Please subscribe and like. Lily. Please subscribe and like. Stefani. Please subscribe and like. No. Please subscribe and like. Ramiro. Please subscribe and like. Agatha. Please subscribe and like. Renata. Please subscribe and like. Ramiro. Please subscribe and like. Haham. Say KK. Agatha. Please subscribe and like. Lavinia. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Sophia. Please subscribe and like. Lucas. Please subscribe and like. Svastika. Please subscribe and like. Juliana. Please subscribe and like. Lily. Please subscribe and like. Ravi. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Lolo. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. 67. Please subscribe and like. Silo. Please subscribe and like. Luna. Please subscribe and like. Abby. Please subscribe and like. Lori. Please subscribe and like. Josiah. Please subscribe and like. Obrigado. Please subscribe and like. Rafi. Please subscribe and like. Happy. Please subscribe and like. Desire. Please subscribe and like. Silo. Please subscribe and like. Luna. Please subscribe and like. Lavinia. Please subscribe and like. Candace. Louie. Please subscribe and like. Bouquet. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Joel. Please subscribe and like. Aranza. Please subscribe and like. Olivia. Please subscribe and like. Ela. Please subscribe and like. Esther, please subscribe and like. Brooklyn, please subscribe and like. Christopher, Bangchan, please subscribe and like. Eloisa, please subscribe and like. Helen, please subscribe and like. Laura, please subscribe and like. Esther, please subscribe and like. Sarah, please subscribe and like. Destiny, please subscribe and like. Java, please subscribe and like. Kaylin, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Nora, please subscribe and like. Kalita, please subscribe and like. Amari, please subscribe and like. Alaska, please subscribe and like. Femari, please subscribe and like. Carl, please subscribe and like. Lalisa, please subscribe and like. Camila, please subscribe and like. Alita, Camilo, please subscribe and like. Emerald, please subscribe and like. Felicia, please subscribe and like. Corey, please subscribe and like. Julia, please subscribe and like. May, please subscribe and like. People Q, please subscribe and like. OI, please subscribe and like. Esther, please subscribe and like. Jenny, please subscribe and like. Ray, please subscribe and like. Yeah, please subscribe and like. Gallo, please subscribe and like. Anna, please subscribe and like. Kane, please subscribe and like. Agatha, please subscribe and like. Jisoo, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Penny, please subscribe and like. Jesse, please subscribe and like. Emily, please subscribe and like. Kelly, please subscribe and like. Erika, please subscribe and like. Mother, please subscribe and like. Reporter, please subscribe and like. Manu, please subscribe and like. So, please subscribe and like. Claire, please subscribe and like. Daniela, please subscribe and like. Leila, please subscribe and like. Elani, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Rion, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Excel, please subscribe and like. Taku, please subscribe and like. Legacy, please subscribe and like. Nelly, please subscribe and like. Manu, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Lona, please subscribe and like. Kylie, Please subscribe and like Kiara. Please subscribe and like Veronica. Please subscribe and like NniferN. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Tristan. Please subscribe and like Aiden. Please subscribe and like Sandra. Please subscribe and like and Jason. Please subscribe and like Destiny. Please subscribe and like Kayla. Please subscribe and like Manueli. Please subscribe and like Ella. Please subscribe and like Han. Please subscribe and like Evan. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Becca. Please subscribe and like Jungkook. Please subscribe and like. Hola. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like me. Please subscribe and like Hannah. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Danny. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Janie. Please subscribe and like Olivia. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Ganela. Please subscribe and like Manon. Please subscribe and like Buncher. Please subscribe and like Travis. Please subscribe and like Aurel. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Isla. Please subscribe and like Skylar. Please subscribe and like Valley. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Muhammad. Please subscribe and like Duke. Please subscribe and like Rain. Please subscribe and like Tatiana. Please subscribe and like Anissa. Please subscribe and like Taylor. Please subscribe and like Celia. Please subscribe and like Victor. Please subscribe and like Janelle. Please subscribe and like Banu. Please subscribe and like Emily. Please subscribe and like Joshua. Please subscribe and like Claire. Please subscribe and like Aurora. Please subscribe and like George. Please subscribe and like Heaven. John Pablo. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like Macy. Please subscribe and like Aura. Please subscribe and like Easy. Please subscribe and like Daniel. Please subscribe and like 42. Please subscribe and like Berlin. Please subscribe and like Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. 26. Please subscribe and like. Tails. Please subscribe and like. Diego. Please subscribe and like. Chatter. Please subscribe and like. Mr. How. Please subscribe and like. Malaki. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Jesus Christo. Please subscribe and like. Elias. Please subscribe and like. Aubrey. Please subscribe and like. Mari. Please subscribe and like. Esther. Please subscribe and like. Amani. Please subscribe and like. Jesus Christo. Please subscribe and like. 7. Please subscribe and like. Candice. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Demi. Please subscribe and like. Skylar. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Alina. Please subscribe and like. Elizabeth. Please subscribe and like. Lice. Please subscribe and like. Amelia. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Naomi. Please subscribe and like. Fabiana. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Katie. Please subscribe and like. Candy. Stephanie. Please subscribe and like. Stephanie, thanks a million for liking, so I appreciate you. Andrew. Please subscribe and like. Kennedy. Melania. Please subscribe and like. Ellie. Please subscribe and like. 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 Legacy. Please subscribe and like. Come looking. Please subscribe and like. 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 Eliana. Please subscribe and like. Jamila. Please subscribe and like. Tria. Please subscribe and like. Lucy. Please subscribe and like. Talker. Please subscribe and like. Aliana, thanks a million for liking, so I appreciate you. Anila. Prince. Please subscribe and like. Kippy. Please subscribe and like. Chloe. Please subscribe and like. Pamela. Please subscribe and like. Maria. Just Carlos. Please subscribe and like. Brittany. Please subscribe and like. Didi. Please subscribe and like. Kippy. Please subscribe and like. Teresa, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Aurora, please subscribe and like. Eden, please subscribe and like. Maki, please subscribe and like. Kim, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Will, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. William, please subscribe and like. Randy, please subscribe and like. Evan, please subscribe and like. Archangel, thanks a million for liking and sub. Appreciate you. Diddy Mune, please subscribe and like. Erika, please subscribe and like. CJ, please subscribe and like. Amelia, please subscribe and like. Mateo, thanks a million for liking sub. Lani, Angel, thanks a million. Jody, please subscribe and like. Harry, please subscribe and like. Michael, please subscribe and like. Tanja, please subscribe and like. Olivia, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Mateo, thanks a million for liking sub. Appreciate you. Gian, please subscribe and like. 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 Lily, please subscribe and like. Jeffrey, please subscribe and like. Sylvie, please subscribe and like. Neymar, please subscribe and like. Nila, please subscribe and like. Leah, please subscribe and like. Snap, Archangel Will, thanks a million for liking sub. Appreciate you. Larissa, please subscribe and like. Leila, please subscribe and like. Isaiah, please subscribe and like. Mariella, please subscribe and like. Hayden, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Taylor Swift, please subscribe and like. 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 It's Talker. Thanks a million for liking too. Appreciate you. Natalie, please subscribe and like. Just please subscribe and like. Bella, please subscribe and like. Angelo, please subscribe and like. Nuri, Marilla, please subscribe and like. Emanuela, please subscribe and like. Louisa, please subscribe and like. Jerry, Jara, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Lebron, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Alexa, please subscribe and like. Lucia, please subscribe and like. Enzo, please subscribe and like. Archangel, thanks a million for liking sub. Appreciate you. Happy, please subscribe and like. Luna, please subscribe and like. Relin, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Isabella, please subscribe and like. Please subscribe and like. Zane, please subscribe and like. Tom, please subscribe and like. I can just thanks a million. Appreciate you. Please subscribe and like. Camden, please subscribe and like. Alvin, please subscribe and like. Angel, please subscribe and like. 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 Angel, please subscribe and like. Darling, please subscribe and like. Laura, please subscribe and like. Gabby, please subscribe and like. Joey,